Hello and welcome to the Claret Blue podcast. I'm your host for this one, Dan Rowlandson, joined by John Townley. We're doing something a little bit different, but we have done it before. Every year, John, we tend to do like our dream window, or we've got £100 million to spend. This is what we'd do, which is too long for a title.
I wish we had £100 million to spend.
So do I. That'd be some pay rise, wouldn't it? This isn't us suggesting that any of these players are linked to Villa. We haven't had a text from Unai to say, a text? What am I doing with my hand? A phone call from Unai to say, oh yeah, look at these players, lads. These are who we're interested in. Nothing like that at all. This is all kind of hypothetical, but with a bit of research thrown in there as well. This isn't just, that player looks good, let's have him, although I may have done that once or twice somewhere. But I'm sure, John, you'll have thrown at me some obscure names from the continent that we can all get behind as well. Good video, this, isn't it? We always do this kind of stuff.
Yeah. It is genuinely like one of my favourite videos of the year?
Fixture release date. This is right up there.
Yeah, no, I do love to have a little delve into different things and literally uncover players that I haven't heard of. But just see, would they fit in that sort of thing, just based on numbers? So yeah, kind of just throwing maybe different names out into the ether. Yeah. Dream window, it's difficult this summer because Dream window would obviously be spending £50 million on each position. We don't think that isn't going to be the case, obviously. You're not going to spend £300 million this summer.
Playing Football Manager, but with some kind of real world parameters on there as well.
Maybe in previous iterations of this video, which is on kind of random. It's Zaha and Harvey Barnes.
Do you remember when I signed Nick Pope just a week in Newcastle?
Nick Pope just a week in Newcastle. I think they'd love it. If you sign Nick Pope now. It's always good to do these videos. So hopefully we can, maybe pick out some players that could sign for Villa. I think some of them, or at least maybe one, maybe two.
Yeah, so we've done a list each. We're going to go through them back and forth and take it in turns. We've kind of done this as we are in charge of Villa's transfer business. So if we want to sell some players from the squad to kind of use that money to buy players, we can do that. There are no rules, so you can only spend a maximum amount. You can only bring so many players in. It's kind of like you're in charge, do what you like, but we've got our heads on of like,
don't go wild.
Let's keep this semi-realistic and not just spend 300 million, like you say. So, shall we get stuck into it, John, with pick number one?
Yeah, let's go.
Goalkeeper, for me, was quite an easy one. I do sell Martinez. I think he's probably going to go anyway. You try and get the best bid for him possible. I didn't pick a destination for Martinez, but I would like it to be outside of the Premier League so we don't have to deal with playing him. And I would like 40 million for him. Now, again, I'm not quite sure Villa will get that much. There's been paper talk of Chelsea being interested. I think it'll be around that ballpark, 35 to 45, something like that. If Villa get the higher end of that deal, I think they've done well. And I've gone Chevalier to replace him, which is quite an obvious place to start. I think he's been linked in real life. I've put 35-ish million for him to be around the same as Martinez. Obviously, a goalkeeper from Lille. Have you gone for a goalkeeper, by the way? Is Martinez leaving in your scenario as well?
He is, yeah. I think it makes most sense. We've already done podcasts, haven't we? Especially the one the other day where we were explaining SCR and whatnot. That it probably makes... I don't want to say makes sense to do it, but I think assessing everything, Martinez as well, happy to start a new chapter in his career. I think we can all probably come to a decision that £40 million for a player who turns 34 next year would still be decent.
Just come
business.
Off a poor season as well.
And I do think that he may be one of the, I don't know how to put this. Don't take this out of context in terms of one of the easier players to replace in the team. That's not what I'm saying. But put it this way, I think it would be. I think it would be harder to replace Ollie Watkins' goals than Emi Martinez as a goalkeeper, in my opinion. And I've done that through, as you said there, through Chevalier as well. I was messing around with different options. I went down a rabbit hole for Kostas Zolakis, the Olympiacos goalkeeper, but ultimately came to the decision that we shouldn't be messing around here. If Martinez does go, which could happen, then this has to be our most important signing of the window, I think, in terms of replacing him. Obviously, if Ollie Watkins was to leave, then I think the striker would then become as important. But I've gone with Chevalier, same as you. Danny's 23. 23, and kept, I think, the most clean sheets in Ligue 1 last season. Really highly rated goalkeeper. Would be a similar price, I guess, to Martinez, as you say there. So what I've tried to do here is kind of break even as much as I possibly can throughout my spending. Not that I'm not suggesting that Villa have to do that. It's just maybe I don't know, maybe doing it kind of a sustainable way, should we say.
If this is one that could be real life, by the way, of the, I don't know how many players we're going to talk about today, this is hypothetical. It's also having a bit of fun. Of our lists, Chevalier is probably one of the most likely, I would suggest, without having seen yours. Having seen mine, he absolutely is probably the most realistic. If he turns out to be a good goalkeeper and he plays well for Aston Villa and Martinez doesn't play well for whoever he goes to, at the time, this feels like, oh, that's a really kind of difficult decision for Villa to make, and this could all go up, basically. Well, it might not. Chevalier might be brilliant. The transfer fee is roughly the same. The wages is far less. The age profile is completely different. That if Chevalier goes on to have a good career with Villa for 3 or 4 seasons like Martinez, you double that the fee you pay for him at least. So from a business perspective, you can kind of see why a sale of Martinez does make sense. We've touched on this before, haven't we?
Yeah, but it's worth saying, because I don't think a lot of it, I think it's a very divisive kind of subject, because I'm absolutely understanding of what Martinez brings to Villa and leadership, all of those different things. And I'll be the first to say, I've said for many seasons, that we always take for granted when the ball comes in the box. No, there's no problem there now because it's Martinez's, and that's not something that we were accustomed to in previous years with different goalkeepers. But equally, we haven't been a very good team for a long time. Martinez has obviously been a part of this good team. We have now the opportunity to bring in another good goalkeeper if Martinez was to go. So, yeah, if it's not Chevalier, I'd be scratching my head a little bit, because there's a few goalkeepers that are kind of off the market now, like Garcia to Barcelona. The Roma goalkeeper I like as well, Svillar, I think his name is, but I believe he's signing a new contract there. He kept lots of clean sheets last season, and his numbers are really good. Chevalier, though, stands out, I think, and will be someone that Villa are looking at.
We've picked the same there, so we can't really take it in turns because it'll be you again saying Chevalier. So do you want to give me another one of your picks? It doesn't need to go from goalkeeper on forward. You can throw anything at me here. Let's see what you've got.
Okay, well, I'm going to go just forward by maybe 2 positions, because I always count right back as the next one after goalkeeper in order. I haven't gone with a right back here.
Okay.
No, I haven't, just because, again, I'm trying to be mindful of my spending, really. I'm doing this as what's the kind of not minimum amount that Villa can spend, but I just want to do it very pragmatically, I guess, just to see. I kind of did this.
I haven't.
Do you remember what we did with the points the other week? It was like, oh, what's the possibly not worst case scenario, but what's the kind of minimum maybe? So I went with a centre back here who can also play right back. It's not Geertruida, but it is Coney de Winter, who plays for Genoa and has just had a very good season. He is now involved in the Belgium national team. I think it's a player that will be, I don't want to say a household name, but someone who will have more prevalence in the coming years. Could go to the World Cup next summer. He has interest from Premier League teams that I've seen today. I think Tottenham and Palace have been named. I've absolutely no idea if this is a player who's on Villa's radar, but I'd suggest, because he's capable of playing right back as well, that it may be someone that's that they've looked at. I don't know. Possibly it's someone that's looked at further in detail than me, rather than just looking at him tonight, that they've discarded him or whatever it may be. But yeah, a player who's relatively versatile. From what I've seen of him, does remind me of Ezri Konsa quite a lot in terms of how he defends. Maybe you want a more aggressive player like Tyrone Mings to partner Pau Torres, but be it a right footer. Coney's in the top 10 percentile of centre backs in Europe's top 5 leagues for aerial duels won. So that's a kind of a big tick there. Villa haven't really had that, have they? Apart from, obviously, of course, Mings. 23 years of age, 3 years left on his deal. Played for Belgium recently to say for the senior team, came through Juventus and would cost around 20 to 25 million pounds. So I think that's a decent deal for a player who has got a lot of upside.
I've also gone with a centre back. I've gone with a right back as well. I've gone quite big in my window, I'll be perfectly honest. Although I've made some sales as well to offset some of the spending. How are you picking yours, by the way, just out of interest and kind of share with the audience? So what's the thought, without going into detail of how you spent your afternoon, but are you kind of scouring the stats first, or is this a player, was it De Winter?
De Winter, yeah, no stats.
I've not seen him play. Is that someone that you've seen a few times?
I'm not professional. No, genuinely, I haven't watched a game of his, but this video isn't me professing to be the next coming of Monchi, I suppose. It's just trying to lay out maybe some different options that people haven't seen or heard about before.
Okay.
They may hear about in the next year or so. Like Gearchild, I like to think that I made his career, and all of a sudden people became aware of him.
You're never going to let go of that, are you? You mentioned him once
I don't actually know.
3 years ago.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's actually that good, but
good.
Numbers all right.
I've kind of gone the other way, apart from maybe one or two that are like, if you don't know the ones on my list, I'd be quite surprised. Like I've kind of gone on reputation more so than kind of looks good on a stat sheet or whatever. I'm not suggesting any of mine are realistic. And as we said in the intro, this isn't that we've been linked with them or we've got insider knowledge that, we're interested.
You're building yourself up massive. Don't say Puyol.
I've gone for KO Tomori.
Okay, yeah. I mean, would be a good signing, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, again.
How much is he costing?
I don't know. 25.
I haven't looked into what his contract is.
Basically, my process was, who's a player that's got a bit of a profile that I know of? At one point you were like, oh, they were decent. Whether he still is, don't know. Had a quick look at his stats and his appearances and all those kind of things and match ratings and simple things like that. And then I searched his name on Twitter to see if there was any noise about him. And there was a couple of reports from whoever just kind of going, well, he might want to move away from Milan. I was like, all right, that ticks a few boxes for me.
That'll do it.
I did actually check. His Who Score page had aerial ability as a weakness. So I was like, okay, probably not what we're looking for. I've too far gone by that point.
I love when we do this video. It's so good. I'm here talking about players I've never watched. You're talking about players that you've, maybe never watched. I don't know.
Tomori a good player a couple of years ago. I don't know if he still is.
Would be interesting for sure because he's obviously a good player and he's probably better than my option. So.
Yeah, okay. Do you want to go again? Because we've kind of now flipped back to you with my Tomori suggestions.
Have you got a right back?
I've got a right back. Yeah.
I think if you've got a right back, let's finish that off. Yeah.
Okay, I've gone a right back again. It kind of fits into the same mold that we've just been talking about. I think it's one I've heard either we've discussed him or other Villa podcasts may have of like he'd be good, wouldn't he? But no kind of sense of like is that realistic and how much would he cost? I've got Munoz from Palace. Weakens Palace, always good. But an attacking fullback that wants to go forward has caused us problems, caused other teams plenty of problems. In terms of a fee, as a rough guess, I'm certain Palace would want more, but I've gone 20 million just to kind of keep me in some kind of line. It kind of feels about right, maybe, of what his actual value is. I'm sure Palace could come out and say, we want 40, but on his actual performances and what somebody's willing to pay, I'd suspect 20 to 25 might force Palace's hand potentially.
Yeah, I love Munoz. I think he's a fantastic player and someone who I definitely welcome to the club. But just kind of thinking, again, to the kind of most pessimistic point I can, he's 29. So I guess the age profile, you'd rather it be a younger player. I mean, he's older than Matty Cash, right? When we're already thinking, well, you'd rather replace those players with younger ones. But wouldn't blow the wage structure out the water at all. So it's hardly like you're signing a player who's over the hill. He's probably got another 2-3 years left in him at a good level in the Premier League. So I don't think it's a terrible shout by all means.
Thanks, mate. I kind of link that to a sale of mine, which I'll do now, obviously. I've got that I'd be willing to let Cash go or loan Garcia. With Munoz being older than Cash, it'd then be that Garcia is the understudy as the younger model, if you like. That Munoz is your player for maybe 2 seasons, while Garcia has another loan or whatever, or gets some time under his belt to be the replacement eventually. Again, I've put figures next to all of mine as kind of pure guesswork or what I'd like to get. Just tell me your figure for Cash before I say mine. So it's really hard to judge whether I've kind of overvalued him or undervalued him and whether I'm about to make myself look silly or not.
Yeah, I haven't sold Cash in my little window here, just again because...
You haven't signed a right back.
Well, it was mainly that. My value, well, put it this way, Villa wanted 30 for him last summer. AC Milan wanted to pay 20. So his Cash's value now with 2 years left on his deal, I think will probably be about £20 million.
Maybe a swap deal for Tomori could be on the cards if Milan are interested. I'll put 18 to kind of be maybe a little bit more conservative.
I think that's fair. I think if a team wanted Cash, I think they would be looking to bid around that area.
Do you want to fire away with one of yours?
Yeah, so next I guess I can box off my defence now. So I've sold Luca Dean because we need that wage bill to come down, and I valued him at around £8 to £10 million, that sort of figure. So we need new, I don't want to say backup left back, because I always say that if you're bringing a player into the club, they need to be able to start, and that should be the kind of point. You have to improve your 11 rather than your bench. So I've gone with Maxim de Kuip of Club Brugge, who actually scored against Villa in the first leg of the round of 16. I don't know if you remember the goal or anything. He's a left back.
I remember my
Quite
cheesy
versatile.
point from the post-match show. Max de Kuiper's put it past the keeper. Fair enough.
It's vague. I vaguely remember that somehow, but still, oh dear. Can play right back, but obviously you're not buying him to play in that position. He is left-footed, very progressive player. 24 years of age, 3 years left on his deal. Apparently, it's available around £20 million. The Bournemouth player who they've just signed to replace Kirkej Truffert, he was actually my first choice as a left back for Villa to sign before he went to Bournemouth. But De Kuiper, I think, would tick a lot of boxes for us. Belgium last season, second most goal creating actions at 17, crosses 194, which is also the second most in Belgium last season, and the fourth most passes into the penalty area at 60. So again, you can say it's only the Belgium league, but also a player who's playing at left back, gets forward, creates chances. That rings a lot of bells what Villa are trying to do with Mats and with Dean. So I think that could be really shrewd business to get Dean off the books by a player who's nearly 10 years younger, 8 years younger. I think reduce wages quite significantly there as well. I think that would be really smart.
We'll go over to one of mine next, and it doesn't need much billing at all, really, because I've done exactly the same. Now, we didn't prepare these together. We did them individually. I also sold Luca Dean. I put 10 million. And my left back, I've got Maxime de Kuiper from Bruges for 20 million.
No way. Do you?
Yeah. I thought
sick.
I wrote it down as an honourable suggestion to begin with, as like it'd actually be a good signing. I think it makes a lot of sense for a lot of the reasons you just said. However, I wondered whether he was too similar to Maatsen when we did our episode a few weeks ago about the profiles that we want. If we are to sign a left back to replace Dean, do you have Maatsen as your bombing forward left wing back essentially, and you sign a more defensive left back? So you've got two styles of play. Flip that onto the other foot. If Maatsen is playing as a progressive attacking left wing back and he's injured, De Kuiper could come in and play exactly the same way, and Villa don't have to change. So I kind of wondered whether do I go De Kuiper because they're too similar in age? You know, is that worthwhile doing? But then I kind of actually thought, well, yeah, that probably does make sense because he can just come in and slot in, and both players can vie for the same position at roughly the same age. And there's a year difference between the two. De Kuiper will be on massively less wage than Dean was. The transfer fees would be, decent, I think. So yeah, I don't need to go into it massive amounts. You've just done it already. Well, I didn't think we get many players the same. So as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, here we go. I've done all right. Yeah, maybe I'm an all right scout after all, John.
Oh, I don't know. Don't base that off me. But no, I do think it would make a lot of sense if Villa were to do this summer. I'd give it a big tick. Financial reasons, age reasons, a lot of different things. Yeah, you said the profiles maybe aren't exactly the same, but also in terms of where I don't want to say their starting positions on the pitch, but you can picture what it would look like, and I'm sure he would make an impact in the team, De Kuiper, but it wouldn't be exactly the same as Mats. I think Matsen's probably quicker. The way he can stretch a defence, get to the byline. I think De Kuiper's a player who maybe inverts a little bit more of a kind of a midfield style was what I got from him when he played against Villa. Very comfortable on the ball. Matsen, I think, is just running off it. So yeah, it's definitely a player that I think we should be looking at.
Okay, nice. I'll pop up next then with a right winger. I'm sure there's one on your list as well. I don't think we'd have gone for the same, but I mean, maybe we have. I've gone with one that, again, has been semi-linked, I think, in some papers and some social media and whatever else. So this won't come as a surprise to anyone, I don't think. I've got Madueke from Chelsea. I've put 25 million, which I think they'd probably want more than that. Potentially, if we sell Martinez to Chelsea for a decent fee, then we kind of buy Madueke back for a decent fee. We kind of scratch their back, they scratch ours, our PSL friends. I don't know about Madueke. I've seen enough of him to be still unsure. I think there's a good player in there, but we've not seen enough of it at Chelsea. But doing the research for this, he was younger than I thought. I was expecting him to be more like 26, 27. I think he's 24. Yeah. I don't want to go as far to say has struggled a bit and Emery can fix him, but I think there is definitely something there that Emery could work with. And in this kind of transaction, I've got us selling Leon Bailey and cashing in, and I've got 20 million for him. It's about what I'd expect, I think.
Yeah, I've cashed in on Leon Bailey as well, which for me, I put a figure of around 15 to 20 million pounds. And I think it would actually be a good deal for anyone if they're paying under 20. because he's still got years to go. Bailey's last season injuries weren't great for him, but obviously the year before that he played the best season of his career. So yeah, kind of love and leave Bailey. that campaign was incredible. But I've also brought in a new right winger. I actually think, to be fair, Madueke is the best option that would be available to us at this sort of.
That's kind of how I assessed it.
Yeah, in terms of the pool of candidates we have, the only reason why I didn't go for him was because I think he's probably going to go to Arsenal, or at least they want him. And if they want him, would he turn them down to come to us or another club? Not sure. However, Saka, Nwaneri, and Madueke, it seems like a lot of players vying for that position. So what I've gone with is Johan Bakayoko, which again isn't kind of a out there name necessarily, a player who a lot of Villa fans will be aware of, because I mean, really, when you look at this in terms of right winger that can play in the style of Leon Bailey, shall I say, and operating in how he did in that incredible campaign that he enjoyed, there aren't too many players that spring to mind, especially at the level and the price point that we're looking at. And if Bakayoko is available for around 20 million, as has been reported, then I think it would be a good deal again for most clubs. 22 years of age, 1 year left on his deal, so available for a kind of, a cut price for. If he had 3 years left, it would be much more. I did mention this in previous videos in the last few weeks, that is a player that I've looked at in the last couple of years that I always thought was nice and explosive, direct, really kind of eye-catching, but also his form tailed off a little bit last season. So in 23-24, so the season that Bailey had his great campaign, he got 21 goal involvements in 33 Eredivisie games, whereas last season it was only 10 goal involvements and 1 assist in 30 Eredivisie games. He did score Liverpool in the Champions League, and it was a nice goal as well. So clearly an exciting talent, and whichever club he goes to, I think will be a club who are kind of upwardly mobile, be it Dortmund or Leverkusen or a team like Villa. So comes into the squad, I'd be very happy with it, and I think it would be a strong addition.
Have you got many more left, by the way? We've not kind of agreed on an amount we should have gone for.
I don't. So, a bit of an explanation, I suppose. I only have one more player, and that's mainly because I look at what we did last season, and I think we had kind of like pretty much a perfect squad after the winter window. In what I'm doing here, we have one less player, so my next player is going to be replacing one of the loanees, but I haven't replaced Marcus Rashford. Is how you could look at it, but I'm almost leaving. Not that you have to leave a slot available for but I am thinking that in the winter window, because we're going to have the Europa League phase pretty much done, that's at that point, and when the January window opens, all but done, 2 games remaining, we should know where we stand in that.
I think we'd qualify for the top 8 by then.
Yeah, or if not, a point or a win away from that. I think we'll be able to juggle Premier League and Europa League pretty well up until then. So I'm put it this way: the players I've signed, I've broken even on the sales that I've made, and that's without selling a major player apart from Emi Martinez. Do we need to spend another 20-30 million pounds on a player? Unless we absolutely want to, that's fine. But I'm not too sure if kind of what player I'd want to bring in to kind of fill that Rashford void just yet. Kept as it is, I guess, until the winter, apart from one player who I will disclose after you.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I don't mind going into the start of the season with Watkins and Marlon being our forward to rotate between.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
I would like a shiny new signing, because we all do, right? But if Villa are smart, and the best decision from a financial point of view is to be careful and not kind of go beyond our means, then I'd rather that than we go, let's just spend 40 million on Rashford and spend massive wages. I mean, he might sign now, but if that's the smart decision, I'd rather they kind of take those decisions in the right way. I've still got 2 players left. One of them is a silly answer, so I'll get the silly one out of the way first of all, and this is almost an inside joke for those that know will know. I've gone 1 million for Jack Butland to eventually get his move to Aston Villa after Dan Bardell broke that story from about 10 years ago as our backup goalkeeper from Rangers. Do you think after maybe Chevalier comes and replaces Martinez, we're then at the stage of third choice goalkeeper that is just here forever and never ever plays? Are we getting to that stage?
I'll do it. What a job. It's the best job in world football. I haven't actually picked a second goalkeeper, not because I can't be arsed. It's literally just I could pick anyone out of the sky. And to be fair, Butland is probably it's probably a good shout, to be fair. I back that. I'll go Butland as well. So we have the same two goalkeepers, so we can agree on that at least.
We obviously just done right wing, and as we're doing this episode, Semenyo has just signed a new contract at Bournemouth. He was almost one that I thought about, like, just entering him into the conversation. And this wasn't a thing of like, I didn't think he was realistic. Because I think if we went to Bournemouth with a certain fee, there's a possibility. There isn't now, but I kind of had, and I think we touched on it before. There's almost a group of players, Premier League specific, that are maybe beyond our means this year. So like Mbeumo, Alanga, Semenyo, potentially just verging on that. Madueke to me felt like a little bit of a rung below those.
Yeah, we've already got lots of positions to go after this summer, so we can't be spending 60, 70 million pounds on one forward and then buying or loaning in 3 defenders. So I've got goalkeeper, centre back, left back, and 2 wingers. So 5 positions for me. I wouldn't be surprised if Villa did more than that. I don't think they have to. Maybe in the winter they add 1 or even 1 more. But I think this squad would be pretty strong after only 5 additions, considering the sales that I've made, of course, which for me is only... I've only made 3 first team sales. The rest of them are players who either didn't play for us last season or aren't in the first team.
Neither of us have touched midfield for obvious reasons. We're well stocked there. Oh, John's got a smirk on his face that maybe he has got a sneaky midfield.
No, I haven't. It's just, things change in football, don't they? So
exactly,
we're
like if
ideally,
Kamara goes or Tielemans goes, of course you need a midfielder, but we're kind of taking it as read that we want to keep them and we think they might stay. So we've kind of gone goalkeepers, defenders, and forwards is where we've both looked at. Done the same as you. Then I've got 2 goalkeepers, a right back, a centre back, a left back. I'm kind of not overhauling the defence, but making some changes. I've got Madueke as a right winger. I have got a forward, but before I get to him, I've also just put, and I've not included it in my spend because I've not picked a specific. I would like us to, as Aston Villa, always be on the lookout to the Championship for talent, as we were with Morgan Rogers. Someone that's going to be less than 10 million, somebody that not many fans maybe will even have seen play, who comes in with little expectation but could kind of shoot themselves up to superstardom by being actually pretty good, and Emery gets the best out of them. So I'm not saying every window we need to sign a Morgan Rogers, although that would be good, but kind of looking towards the Championship because there will be players out there for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 million that actually Emery can turn into, even if it's a 20, 25 million pound player in a couple of seasons. Like, for the financial world that we keep talking about, those deals are important as well.
Have you got a player?
No. I've just put.
I thought you were building it up.
Put Championship talent.
I was waiting for Borgia Science.
No. I did have a scour through, but I don't know what I'm looking for enough. No.
I thought it was going to do a big crescendo.
I wish I was, mate.
Such a shame. I was waiting for Borgia Science, man. I do agree. And to be fair, I did look myself. There wasn't. I don't know, nothing really jumped off the page, as it were.
Would Morgan Rogers have jumped out the page before he signed for us?
Yeah, it wouldn't jump off the page, but it would certainly be a player that you'd look at and, I would look at and think, well, he's like physically very good and came through the Man City Academy and is playing for Middlesbrough and has done well in the Carabao Cup. So, I guess, but not a player. But not a player that you'd think, oh yeah, he'll become this and become what he's become. You could pick out any player, i.e. Borgia Science, and say, well, maybe he'd have a place in the squad. Like, literally, maybe, I don't know. But would he develop as quickly as Rogers has had? I don't think many players can. You can't really get more like rapid progress than what Rogers has had under Emery, I don't think. So
in our sales as well, I think we've both got the same. Martinez, Dean, Cash. You didn't have Cash. Bailey. There may be others. England Junior might go for 7 million or whatever. We didn't want to be too kind of.
To be honest,
like every single piece of business.
Yeah, and for example, with Cash, if someone's going to offer 20 million pounds, I'd take that and I'd replace him with a player. But again, will those offers arrive? I'm not too sure. We'll see. I'd like to see more of Garcia next season. That's what I would say. If Garcia improves as well as we'd like him to, I'd be happy for Garcia to be our starting right back, and then Cash, or between the two, they fight for that position. What I'm trying to do is not make too many changes in the team. I'm already bringing 5 players, maybe 6 to 7 in the winter as well, like combined. I think that's enough, really. So to lose three first team players in Bailey, Dean and Martinez, that's a lot. It could be more. Maybe we'd be seeing Ramsey go. Maybe it's Kamara. Maybe it's whoever else. So we'll see what the summer window brings, because any player for the right price can be available. So we'll see.
Have you got one more then or not?
So I have one more, yeah. So I have 5 players overall. How many do you have overall? 6, is it?
1, 2. I've got 7 if you include Butland.
Oh, of course, yeah. I include Butland as well then, so 6. 6 for me too. So my final position is someone who I was toying with the idea of bringing Asensio back. But if I was to do that, this player I don't think we would need, and it would have to be another player who I couldn't really find. Like, again, I need to find this player for Wolfsburg, man. It's driving me crazy. What's his name? Mohamed Amoura, who's Algerian, I believe. He had a really good season for Wolfsburg last year, was at Union Saint-Gilloise, and has literally just joined them permanently, so can't really happen now. But his profile, I think, is exactly what we want, playing from the left, but in a different way. Now I'm trying to bring in a player who could play maybe like Asensio, drift inside, play as a 10, or from the left. So it's a player who played against Villa actually earlier this season. His name is...
I've just realised this whole time while I've been filming, I've changed my plant in here because the plant was getting too big, and I've replaced it with a cactus, and the cactus just don't look good in the corner. Look at it. What?
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. It's that, to be fair, it's quite big and it is spiky, but it doesn't need to be like that, doesn't it? Yeah, I'll deal with that another time.
Anyway, his name is Elise Bensigir, who plays for Monaco.
Okay. I recognise his name from doing the prep for this video. Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, cool. Yeah. That's interesting. So, 22 years old, 2 years left on his deal. Monaco probably should be willing to sell him. I think it's either him or Akliouche who they might sell. Akliouche is, I believe, more expensive and had a better season, really, than Bensigir last year, but again, is worth more money. Apparently he'd be available around 25-ish million pounds, Bensigir, and for that money I think that's a good sort of opportunity for a team. Again, last year didn't play as much as he'd like to have played, but he's clearly very talented. So let me run you through some stats. 5th most through balls in the Liga in last season, top 10 for fouls drawn, and top 10 for total shots per 90 in Liga as well. As I said, will drift in from the left, but can also play as a 10. A stat that I found out as well: of all players to make more than a couple of league starts, only Ousmane Dembele registered more carries into the final third per 90 than Bensigir. Bensigir at 4.28, and then Dembele just a bit more at 4.5. His shot creating actions per 90 is comparable to Barcola and Mason Greenwood. Less about him, the better. Created 2 chances as well against Villa too. So not a player that I think many fans will remember as, oh my God, he had an outstanding game, because it was a pretty poor game actually in general, but he created 2 opportunities for Monaco, which was, well, 2 more than so yeah, really poor game, but a player who can create chances, open games up. And I like that left-sided player, like Rodgers or Ramsey, to be able to carry the ball. So I like that he carries the ball into the final third a lot, and actually has final product as well. Doesn't score too many goals, but makes things happen, makes chances. So for that reason, I think for 25 million, really good age, as I say, good pedigree as well. I think, Bensigir could be a good opportunity for most teams like us who are in Europe and trying to... bet themselves.
Double check the height of my my next signing. I thought he was taller than that.
That's good. This is good content.
No, that's annoying. I thought he was a bit taller. Damn. Okay, my next player, my final player on my list. I don't want to give this too much of a massive build-up, as if I found somebody again, like our championship section just now, and you might go, yeah, I've heard of him, like what you on about. But I kind of went almost your angle. I kind of scoured for a profile rather than a name for to change up the pace of my previous picks. Are you aware, have you ever heard of a fella called Karim Konate?
Konate? Genuinely, no. I haven't, no.
I'm out John to John. He's currently at RB Salzburg. He's a striker. Okay. I thought he was above 6 foot when I was doing my initial prep. I found out just now that he's 5'10". But I was kind of looking for that physical player to kind of be the foil to Watkins, who is obviously a good runner and all the things that we know. Kind of the Duran mould is the player that I'm looking for. Somebody who's young, bit of a battering ram, has skill on the ball, can score goals, that kind of vibe. Would see hopefully leaving for Villa to be a step up in their career, a step up in wages, all the things that we know comes with the Premier League. He's 21. He was born in March 21st, 2004. Oh, God, so young. He has 25 goals in 47 appearances in the Bundesliga and 64 goals in 101 career appearances, 16 assists as well. So he contributes. Again, I ain't going to profess to have watched this guy loads. He has played in the Champions League as well, scored 2 goals in 10 appearances. Now, the kicker of Canate, found 2 things that were kind of like possibly in a favour of like, well, maybe there's a move on the cards. On my Twitter search, Paris FC apparently are interested in him because I think there's some dual ownership going on there with Paris and Salzburg. Okay. There's some link somewhere that's like, well, maybe that makes a bid more profitable for them or whatever. The risk involved with Canate in terms of bringing the price down, I shouldn't laugh because it isn't funny. He's currently suffering with an ACL, John. Did his ACL in...
So does Canate really form part of your dream window?
No, not quite, but I was looking for something a little bit different. Yeah. He did it in November of last year, so he's on the mend at some point. It's July now. No, but you know what I mean? I'm offering a player here who would not be fit to start the season. I was kind of thinking, yeah, Stuart Downey, we gave him a chance all those years ago while he was still injured.
Sorry. He's on the mend. Maybe don't sign him.
Cut price fee. You're currently injured. We'll give you a break. You won't play till January or something.
He's having a break.
but we'll give you. We'll get you on a cut price fee because you've got potential, but the injury has potentially kind of curtailed that. His numbers suggest that he's a good player for 21 in a decent league, played Champions League, good profile, good age. But the injury, what's that going to do to him? So I've got 15 million. So why not lowball him? Take a risk. I thought I'd throw something your way for content, basically.
Yeah. No, I rate it. I will be monitoring him, and every month I'll give you a little progress check.
That'd be great. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, good. Yeah. Right, that's the end of my window, my dream window. I sign in a player with an ACL.
So who have you signed? In fact, who have you sold and how much for? Let's do that.
So these are my rough figures then. So I've got for sale Martinez 40, Dean 10, Cash 18, and Bailey 20, which is 88 million in transfer fees this summer. I've signed Chevalier and Butland for 36 million combined. Munoz for 20, Tamori for 25, De Goalkeeper to slot one past the keeper for 20, Madueke for 25, and Canate for 15. 116 million in transfer expenditure, which is a net spend of £28 million.
Okay, cool. I do think you got some nice picks there. The players I've sold, I don't know if I was supposed to include these, but I've gone Martinez for about 40, Luca Dean up to 10, Leon Bailey up to 20, and then I have included Alex Moreno, Louis Barry, Nedeljkovic, Buendia.
I kind of understand that all those players will probably go as well, and that will make that that'll boost different. But
your next, I've also included, we haven't mentioned him yet, but Enzo Brenachaya. I've put him in the sell list as well, and it's not something that I want to happen. I want him to stay at Villa, and I want him to kind of get an opportunity to show what he's got. However, I can't really see a spot for him in the team unless Ross Barkley was to leave, and I don't see that happening, considering how far Unai went, to sign him last summer. That comes to around £120 million is my outgoings. Expenditure, is £120 million as well. So, again, broke even. So I've brought in Chevalier, Butland, of course. The Winter is a centre-back or right-back. De Goalkeeper, Johan Bakayoko for the right. And then for the left, Ben Seguir, which I think I don't think that's anything that anyone, I think most people will look at and think like, oh, boring. Like, is that even a good amount of players to bring in for £120 million? But I think it's a good age profile. A lot of those players will definitely improve in value. If they have one decent Premier League season, they're all of a sudden worth £30-40 million. And they're all signed for about 20, apart from Chevalier. I think it's decent. And again, we're judging this on what we have at the moment in the squad. You've got Morgan Rogers, Kamara, Tielemans, Anana. Like, there's so much there. It's an incredibly gifted team. And as well, I've kind of just given myself that bit of a buffer in the winter of you have space to improve it because you've got a budget still if you need to bring anyone else in.
Nice.
But we're saying all of this, of course, without Villa selling a big player. Like, for example, if £60 million is tabled for Ollie Watkins tomorrow, he'd probably go right.
You probably need more than Canate to replace him.
Yeah, but then also that gives you flexibility to sign other players. And some people would want to sell Watkins for a certain amount of money and bring in different players, which is absolutely fine. But this is just what we're doing. I just think it's important to limit the amount of players going out. But I think with 120 million pounds, as I've said there, plus a lot of wages, Dundonka hopefully going, Coutinho termination. That's something that we're trying to do as well. So a lot of wages off the books there too. So the summer window would look something like that potentially.
Besides Chevalier, because that's the one that we know has been linked the most in real life, if you like, do you reckon there's any chance of the other kind of, 11 or 12 players that we've talked about? Do you reckon any of them might sign and we'll be like, oh, look, we spoke about them on the 1st of July?
Yeah, I do. I think Bakayoko could be a player that, it's when we say could be, let's have it right. Villa have a list or start with a list of 15 or so players, or even more, but whittle it down to 15, then to 6. The Nuno wants one of these 3. Like, there's only so many right wingers in world football that can get in the Villa team. So I'm sure Villa would have looked at Bakayoko. They would have looked at different players. Maybe not Kanate. I'm not sure. Maybe they have.
I'd love it if we saw him now.
Oh, he's so good. Yeah, and as well, like De Kuyper, again, left back who is available for a decent fee. If Luka Dean goes, I'm sure that's a player that they'd be considering. So yeah, we could bring in, at least 3 of the players that we've discussed today.
That'd be nice.
Either way, I just feel like after the summer window, we'll be in a strong position. Even if we were to lose a big player, I think we'll have enough to replace them and to, continue to move on. We have challenges with SCR, but I think we'll be in a good place anyway.
Just to end then, I'm going to read up a few suggestions from the mailbag. I tweeted this out on Tuesday night when we were recording this episode. You'll be seeing it on Wednesday. I'm literally just going to read a few of these names. I've not checked them at all. Oscar Mingueza was the first input on the document this evening, which is a player we've not talked about. There was some talk about us being interested in Kun at Celtic last year. It looks like Leipzig will probably pay around 15 for him. Be a much cheaper option than the right wingers we're linked with. Unbelievably quick, can score from range and can cross, very similar to Bailey. Noni Madueke says is a suggestion here. 2 actually. PSV's Bakayoko. We've been linked with him already, and he seems like an ideal replacement and potential upgrade for Leon Bailey, who looks like he'll leave this summer. As a young alternative to learn under Ollie, maybe somebody like Evan Ferguson. The performances of the Brazilian sides in the Club World Cup, says EJ, shows that hidden gems can be found. Players such as Forest Murillo, Arsenal's Martinelli and Wolves' João Gomes have moved from Brazilian sides to the Premier League in recent years and adapted well. Each of those players would definitely do a job for us, and I'd bet that there's others out there should Monchi be looking in that market. Yes, probably. I almost went for Martinelli on this, by the way. Not as like that's super realistic, but like Arsenal probably feel they could upgrade upon him, and would he start
I wouldn't be surprised.
On the left-hand side potentially?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he leaves. I think the Saudi interest in Martinelli. On the Brazil, you bang on. There's a lot of talent coming out. Well, there always is, but there's also a surge of it almost. Like Palmeiras have lost a few. Esteval, for example, I was half thinking, could you get him in on loan? I was also thinking maybe Oscar Bob on loan. But yeah, that's kind of a wild shout, I suppose, in a way. Yeah, just a player who needs, hasn't really caught a break, but needs a bit of game time and a fresh start, I think. Lots of talent coming out of Brazil. Forest signed another 1 or 2, I think.
2, I think,
yeah, I watched some of the Brazilian league because my partner's father's a big Palmeiras fan. And seriously, like some of this kind of support and whatnot, and even the level that they do show in those games is very high. Facilities aren't great, pitches aren't great. It's like AstroTurf sometimes, but seeing it in the Club World Cup as well, like that's the one positive for me in the Club World Cup is that these Brazilian teams and South American teams have a platform to show how good they can be, and the support is really good. So like you kind of forget that it's almost like a South American leagues. It's because it's played at a completely different time, literally like time of year. To our season and different things like that, you kind of forget that it even exists, and you just think about it. It's like the World Cup, it's Brazil, but no, the leagues are, I wouldn't say thriving, but the support for the clubs and whatnot is it's massive, and there's definitely a big pool of talent there.
Another shout from City from Gabriel is Rico Lewis.
Yeah, I like that. Rico Lewis, versatile player. I don't think he's at the right level for City, to be honest, but that doesn't mean he wouldn't be a good player for us. Yeah,
a couple of shouts at Embremo and Alanga, although as we've discussed in this, I think they're probably above us this window and without Champions League from a financial point of view. Final one from the AVFC faithful, not quite a long one with a few different players. I like Bakayoko from PSV, Malik Tillman, although he's gone to Leverkusen. I would love Igor Paschal. Yeah, okay. I almost went Paxo, but obviously it's not that. From Feyenoord, I do feel that if one of the United wingers were available on a favourable deal or a PSR swap deal, that Emery would get the best out of them. That excites me. And I like Sen Lamen as a goalkeeper option.
Lamens, I think it is.
Lamens. I think shopping in the French, Belgian, Portuguese and Dutch leagues could provide good value and lower wages. Don't know loads about for some of those players, but the theory is sound, I think.
Yeah, bizarrely, all of those players were players that I looked at before we did this video.
Really?
But yeah,
nice.
Tillman going to Leverkusen. Lemons, I think, is a little young, maybe. To I just thought goalkeeper. This has to be a big player here if Martinez is going. And then with United as well, I looked at Amad Diallo and thought, could you maybe get him out of there if European football and Buemo is joining? Obviously, Garnacho will be leaving, but they want a big fee. But we was seeing it with Rashford, a player who you kind of, I don't know, overlook, and all of a sudden can produce in big moments and be a real player. Big teams do have players who they kind of maybe viewed as like dispensable, and if we can get our hands on them for a decent fee or wage, yeah, why not?
John, that'll do for this episode. It's been a thoroughly enjoyable one, despite being bloody boiling in this room again. Well, we'll see how the transfer market unfolds. We're not suggesting, as we said at the start, any of these are being linked with Villa or there's any inside information. This is, a dream window. It's a hypothetical, all those kind of things, but with a bit of research in there, certainly from your part, rather than just going, he's good, let's have him, which is kind of what I've done. John, thanks for joining me. Thank you for watching along or listening to this episode of the Claret Blue podcast. Thank you to those who got involved with the mailbag as well. Keep your eye on all the usual places. Thanks for watching. We'll see you then.